He's the dancing master. He's the ring magician. He's the champion who has been labeled the fastest moving heavyweight in the entire history of 1 century of world heavyweight champion.
The last round. The locker room was dim, the air thick with the scent of sweat and old leather. The sound of distant footsteps echoed in the hallway, muffled by the thick walls. Vince's hands were wrapped tight, each movement deliberate as he adjusted the tape. He could feel his heartbeat in his throat, the buzz of nerves mixing with the steady rhythm of his breath. This was the moment before the storm, before the roar of the crowd, the lights, the ring. But in the quiet, there was only her. Samantha stood a few feet away, leaning against the wall. She was always calm in moments like this, like she could step out of the chaos and hold him in this small space where nothing else existed. She didn't say much. Never did when he was this close to the fight. She just watched him like she was seeing a different version of him, someone strong, someone unbreakable. But tonight, Vince didn't feel unbreakable. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice soft, but the question hung in the air like an electric current. Vince didn't answer right away. He looked at the floor, his fingers curling into a fist. His mind flashed back to his last fight, the way he'd collapsed in the ring, the pain that lingered in his shoulder for weeks after. He'd been too proud to admit it at the time, but this felt different. "I can't take another hit like that," he muttered, more to himself than to her. "Something's wrong this time, Sam, I can feel it." She crossed the room to him, her footsteps steady and sure. Her hands came up, brushing against his chest, grounding him in the moment. She wasn't trying to calm him, she never tried to do that. She just held him in place for a moment, their eyes locking. Her touch was warm, not just against his skin, but against the storm in his chest. She didn't speak right away. She didn't need to. Her presence was a wordless comfort. "You've said that before," she said, her voice a quiet reminder, as though it was a conversation they had every time he stepped into the ring. "You always feel it before a fight, the fear, the doubt. But you know what I think?" Vince raised an eyebrow, looking down at her, a bitter laugh escaping him. "I wish I could believe it's just nerves," he said, "but it's more than that. I've been in this game too long to ignore what my gut's telling me." Samantha smiled, almost imperceptibly. She reached up, cupping his face with a gentleness that made his chest tighten. "You're not fighting for anything anymore," she said, the words sharp but not unkind. "You're fighting for you, the man you are right now in this moment, not the man you used to be, not the man you think you have to be." The weight of her words hit him harder than any punch he'd ever taken in the ring. He blinked, taking a breath, trying to clear the fog in his mind. She was right. Somewhere along the way, the fight had stopped being about proving something to the world. It had stopped being about the belts, the titles, the crowds who expected him to be some kind of hero. It was just about him now, and her. His fingers tightened around her wrist, holding on for a second longer than he needed to. Vince closed his eyes, feeling the weight of her words sink in, but also the weight of something else, something fragile and raw, like the pieces of himself he'd kept hidden away for so long. "You've always known how to make me see the truth," he muttered. Samantha didn't say anything else. No pep talk, no promises. She didn't need to. She just looked at him with that same unwavering belief. The one that told him without saying a word that she wasn't afraid of him, that no matter what happened in the ring tonight, she would still be here when it was all over. For a moment, something passed between them, a shared understanding. But it was gone before Vince could hold on to it, as the door to the locker room opened with a quick crack. The assistant poked his head in. "5 minutes, Vince!" Vince straightened up. The distant thrum of the crowd rose into something more tangible, a low hum in his chest, vibrating through the walls. His pulse quickened as the noise grew. This is it. He turned to walk toward the door, but stopped and glanced back at Samantha. Her eyes were steady, but for the briefest second, he saw something flicker in her expression, a vulnerability she hadn't shown before. a fear, fleeting but real. She swallowed then, almost as though she couldn't help herself, reached for him, pressing her palm against his chest, just above his heart. The warmth of her hand lingered, grounding him again in the moment. "Be safe," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise, but somehow it still cut through the tension. Vince gave a small nod, his throat tight with unspoken words. "Maybe I will be all right," he said, the uncertainty still there but softened by her touch. It wasn't just about winning anymore. It was about proving something to himself. He wasn't fighting for the crowd's approval. He was fighting for who he was now, for what he could still become. He stepped into the hallway, the cold air biting at his skin. The roar of the crowd washed over him, now a palpable presence in the pit of his stomach. But it felt distant now, like static. The energy of the fight pulsed around him, but it no longer felt like something he had to escape or overcome. It felt like something he could face. It was just him and the fight. It wasn't about winning. It was about confronting the fear that had always been there. He would be all right.